Hello, everyone. Hello. It is so nice to be here. And I just want to say thank you to Sherry for asking me. It was such an honor. It is such an honor to be here, to be able to be with all of you today in this birthing of this creation, of this vision that she had. It's just such an honor. It's such an honor. And I'm going to take a deep breath because I'm feeling nervous. So why don't you all just take a deep breath with me for a moment. And I want to invite you to do something with me, if you will. Just go ahead and feel your pulse on your wrist. Just feel your pulse. Find your pulse, and if you have it, just trust me and close your eyes. Just close your eyes for a moment and just feel the beating of your heart. Feel your pulse. What does it mean? What does it mean that you get to feel your pulse? Keep your eyes closed with me for a moment and just feel. Feel the beating of your heart. Feel your pulse. Guess what that means? It means that you are alive. That you get to be here with this gift that it is to be alive another day. Just stay with me for a moment. Just keep your eyes closed for just a moment. And just imagine if today were your last day. What if we all left here today and we all went home and we met our Creator? Today was our last day. Stay with me for a moment. What if we were all welcomed into the light today? Do you feel complete? Are there things you wish you would have done but you didn't? Is there a song that your soul wanted to sing but you didn't? Is there potential that is unrealized inside of you? How did you leave your relationships? Do the people you truly love know? Is there a bitter taste of resentment in your heart? Is there forgiveness that you still need to go through? Have you set yourself and others free? Are you clear? Do you have any unfinished business? And think about that song that your soul wants to sing, a project that wants to be birthed through you. What is that song that your soul wants to sing, that you wanted to express or experience but didn't? And now I want to ask you, why? Why haven't you lived a fully expressed and self-actualized life? Why don't we live our fullest potential? Why do we waste time in relationships and situations that are way past their expiry date? Why don't we do the things for ourselves that we know would be so good for us? There is always one simple answer. Open your eyes. That answer is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of intimacy, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of opening your heart and getting hurt. Fear. Fear is the one thing that holds us back. Fear is the one thing that holds us back from experiencing the things that we truly want to experience, what our soul wants to express, the song that you are here to bring, that only you can bring. The only thing holding you back from the life that you truly want is fear. Take a deep breath with me. I told you before, if you know me, you know I like to go deep. So on this first day of Love Church, I do hope to take you deep within yourself so that something can awaken inside of you, a force that you cannot hold back. And so I want you to think about what your life might look like if you were to turn around and face your fears. What would happen if you were to turn around and face those fears? Fear only has power over you if you do not face it. So what are the fears in your life that you need to turn around and face? Those fears are deep, they're primal. And I believe, I'm trying to find a place for this. I believe that all fear is rooted in the same core fear, deep down, as deep as we can go. All fear rooted in the same core primal fear, a fear that we might not be worthy of love and belonging. And that deep fear is connected to a need for all of us to survive. We're a communal species. We need each other to survive. We need community. We need each other to survive. And we know that deep down on the most instinctual, primal level, we know we need each other to survive. And so our greatest desire is to know we're worthy of love and belonging, to know that we are accepted and liked. All of our actions, our thoughts, our behaviors, our patterns stem from those places inside of us. That desire deep down to know that we're worthy of love and belonging, and at the same time that fear that we're not. The fear of being alone. And so today I want to invite you to be willing to look within yourself, to discover what it is that might be holding you back from living your greatest potential, from living your best life. That need to keep yourself safe is what is holding you back. But when you turn around and you face the fear, fear loses its power. And let me tell you how fear shows up. Fear shows up in the most elaborate ways. Fear shows up wearing so many different masks. Fear shows up in procrastination, in laziness, in avoidance, in numbing, in running, in addiction. Fear shows up in so many different ways that keep you from doing the very things you know would help you to live your best life, to be your best self. Bring your best self to life, to love, to relationships, to your profession, to your family, to yourself. That's the one thing holding you back. And I was recently speaking to a client of mine who realized one of her fears, a fear that she was carrying around, a fear that was keeping her from really fully, deeply connecting with her husband. She has a wonderful husband. They have 2 beautiful young children, and she's in a great marriage. This is a really good guy. But there was an unconscious fear deep down that she was living from, that place inside of her. And these fears, they're running in the background of our mind. We're not consciously aware of them. They are deeper down. And so we have to do some work to be able to get quiet enough to hear, to recognize, to observe, to get to know what it is that is really holding us back. And so she realized that deep down somewhere she had a fear that her marriage was not going to last. She had a fear that one day things wouldn't work out, but it was in contradiction with what she had committed to herself, to her belief. She had another belief that said, you can't ever end your marriage. Marriage is sacred, marriage is forever. There's not a possibility for your marriage to ever end. And so there's this inner conflict inside of her. One part of her fearing that one day her marriage is going to end, and then the other part saying, your marriage can't end. It's not possible. That's not something that you can do. You can't end a marriage. Fear, the fears of our subconscious mind are what are driving the reality of our life. And so that fear deep down that her marriage might end, guess what she's seeing? Guess what she's experiencing? She is constantly looking through the filter, through the lens of fear, and seeing things in her marriage to try to find evidence to back up that belief that one day her marriage might end. So finding the reasons why things might not work out to try to keep herself safe, of course. And I had an experience last year where I realized that I was operating from a place of fear and that I had not been aware of it, and I had to stop and turn around and face that fear, just like I guided her to do. To turn around and face the fear means she turned around and she says, okay, so if my marriage ends, what then? So fear of my marriage ending, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to face that fear, and I'm going to look fear in the eye, and I'm going to say, okay, so if I just accept that that could be a possibility, if I just accept that that could be a reality, and I turn around and I face the fear that one day my marriage might end, well, what then? Well, what would happen then? Turn around and face it. What would happen then if your marriage might fail? What then? And so anytime you discover you're operating from a place of fear, you turn around and face it and you ask yourself, what then? What would happen then? Well, she always has a choice, right? We all always have choices. We are the meaning makers of our life. We get to choose the meaning that we give all of our experiences. We get to choose if something knocks us down. And if something does knock us down, we get to choose whether or not we stand back up, right? And so turning around and looking at that fear and realizing that the only thing to fear is fear itself, because, okay, if that happens, well, guess what? I can decide what I make of it. She can create a beautiful experience for her children and for her husband if she wants to, regardless of what happens. So turning around and facing the fear means that that fear is no longer subconsciously driving her life. That filter is gone. She no longer has to look through that filter to try to find evidence to prove that it's going to happen, because now it doesn't have any more energy. Do you feel that? If she turns around and she goes, okay, if that happens, okay. Turning around and facing your fears will transform them. And so last year I got myself into a similar situation where I had set out to do a lot of things last year. By the way, did anyone feel at the end of 2018 like, what just happened? like, what just happened? Where did that year go? I feel like 2019 is a do-over year. Like, that's do-over. This is clean slate, do-over. All the same intentions and goals, they're on this year's New Year's intentions. And so last year I set out to do quite a few things. I was clearing space in my calendar. I stopped doing my group coaching. I no longer did any more workshops or retreats. I was clearing space because I knew and I know that I am being called to share these teachings and spread these tools to more people through writing. And that's one of the ways in which I'm being called to do that. And so I was doing all of these things to make space, and then all of these other things came in last year that were unexpected, and there's a lot of things that I was very grateful for. But I got myself into a situation where I was not being supported in the way that I needed to be supported in order to do these things, to show up for my assignment. And at the end of the year, I got myself into a place of near burnout. And I was completely exhausted. I had nothing left to give. And I know when something like that happens, I get to stop, slow down, pause, and tune in and ask myself some very powerful questions. And the quality of your life truly is the quality of your questions. And so I stopped and I slowed down and I tuned in and I said, wait a second, what's really going on here? Because I know, and I want you to get this, whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. So why are you choosing that? It goes back to those core fears, because you're trying to keep yourself safe. So my question to myself was, okay, I knew that I needed to change. I needed to hire someone new. I needed to expand my team to be able to do what I need to be doing, to be able to really bring the gifts that I am here to bring out. So why have I not changed that? Why have I not created that reality for myself? And I know that if I'm not changing something, I am choosing it. And there goes the mic, so I will just project. So if I am not changing it, I am choosing it. And why? So I had to stop and I had to tune into my heart and I had to say to myself, how is this keeping me safe? What is this keeping me safe from? Is it there? Oh, the robot is there. It's not. So, no. Okay.
Sorry, Heather.
That's okay. So just tune into your own heart. Just tune into your own heart for a moment. Just kind of feel inside of yourself as well. If there's something that you have not been changing, you're choosing it. Why are you choosing it? Why are you choosing to stay in that pattern? Were there things that you set out to do, and have there been things that you have set out to do for yourself that you know would be so good for yourself, but you haven't done it? Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. How is that choice keeping you safe? And here's the thing, going back to that most primal part inside of us, think about it. You're doing what you're doing to keep yourself safe. And what is safe to that part inside of us, that part of our brain, what is safe is that which is known. The familiar. What we can rely on, what we know, what we can assess. I know that is actually causing me a tremendous amount of pain. I know that I'm not really genuinely happy, but that is what is familiar to me. Oftentimes we don't even know the amount of happiness and joy that we have the capacity to experience because it's not something that we know yet. Most of us haven't experienced that yet. And I am here to help you hopefully clear as many blocks as you can by being willing and courageous and gritty enough to turn around and face your own fear. Yeah. So that your fears no longer have power over you. And you get to tune into your heart and you get to say, how am I keeping myself safe? Because that's where you're going to find out what the fear is that's truly holding you back from showing up every day and being the person that you know that you have the potential to be. Not only for yourself, and first and foremost for yourself, and then for others. And so I tuned into myself and I thought, how am I keeping myself safe? And I went through the process and so I'm not getting the support I need, so I don't have the capacity to do what I'm really being called to do. How is that keeping myself safe? Oh, if I just stay here and I stay nice and small and I stay here in Seattle and I don't get out really big, then I'm a lot more safe. How am I safe? Well then, what if I do write my book, and what if I do send it out to agent or publisher and I get rejected? Okay, so I thought I'd already dealt with that, but okay, obviously I hadn't, because whatever I'm not changing, I'm choosing. I was choosing to keep myself safe because I hadn't turned around and faced my fear. You know, knowing this stuff, honestly, it's like having the keys to the universe. And it's like I have these keys that are the key to your heart, to your happiness, to your greatest potential, and I want to give you these keys. I want to hand you these keys. And there are so many powerful tools and processes and ways of thinking that can help shift you and help you clear your blocks and help you just remove the layers, remove everything that's blocking you from sharing the gift of you, the unique gift that you are here to bring. Your essence, your soul, the gift of your heart. And so I realized that I had been doing a lot of upgrading work. I had been doing mindset work. I love mindset work. I love helping people upgrade their programming, upgrade their beliefs, upgrade their stories so that they can manifest and create the life of their dreams. But I hadn't turned around and faced that fear. I was like, oh, okay, so failure. What if I get rejected 100 times? Well, Jack Canfield got rejected 110 times before they took on Chicken Soup for the Soul. So 111. What if I get rejected 111 times? Okay, what if I fail? So I had to turn around and I had to embrace that. I had to accept that could be possible, that could be a reality, so that it no longer has power over me, so I'm not afraid of it. If I'm not afraid to fail, if it's okay for me to fail, if it's okay for me to be rejected, if it's okay for people to ridicule what I write, if it's okay for people to bully me online, if it's okay for people to tell me that I should shut up and sit down and get off stage, if it's okay for people to say that, if I'm okay with that, it no longer has power over me, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what is it inside of you? What is the fear inside of you? And remember, for most of us, that fear, guess what? Fear of failure, fear of rejection, follow it, follow it, follow it. Where does it take me? What is that core fear? if I'm rejected, if nobody likes me, if they think that I'm not valuable or I'm not worthy of love and acceptance, guess what? I might be all alone. Guess what? What if I'm all alone? What then? I might die. Because that's what we fear. And it's coming from that deep primal place inside of us. Once you're aware of it, you have the choice. You are now empowered with those keys, the keys to set yourself free. To know that the only thing to fear is fear itself. To turn around and face your fear means that it no longer has power over you. And so I hope that by sharing this, it inspires you and gives you the courage and the grit and the grace that you need to turn around and face your own fear so that you can show up and be your best self. Think about the things that you really need to be doing for yourself. We all know, right? We know what the things are for ourselves, that if we did those things, I would show up and I would be on fire and I would have so much bandwidth that I could do all of those things myself, because I would have so much life force energy coursing through my body because I'm taking care of my body. When I think about what can you do for yourself this year to have a stronger body and stronger mind so that you have that inner strength to turn around and face your fears. If we're fatigued, if we're exhausted, we don't have that strength, right? So what are some things that you can be doing for yourself? And not coming from a place of shame or judgment on what you have or haven't done, but really knowing for yourself, we all have different things that we need to do that fill us up. Sometimes it's creative expression, sometimes it's meditation, a lot of times it's deeper sleep, right? Better sleep. And I hope that all of you consider that sitting in stillness a little more often is something that is going to be absolutely transformational for you. It has been in my own life. To be able to get still and sit with yourself is one of the most magical experiences that there is, because you realize when you get quiet enough and when you get still enough and when you drop into your heart deep enough that you're not alone, that you're connected to everything and everyone, that you're connected to all that is, that the source of love and happiness that you seek is inside of you. That is, it's not outside you. It's not in the validation of other people. It's not in the acceptance. It's not if someone likes you or they don't like you. It's not out there. It's in here. And that requires you to get still, to drop in, to get quiet, to allow your own inner voice, the voice of wisdom that is guiding you always, to rise up inside of you. So I want to encourage you to find moments, mindful moments, where you pause, where you take a deep breath, where you drop into your heart. That's all that is required to get present. The only moment that matters is right now. No other moment matters. The only place your past exists is in the past. It doesn't exist anywhere except for in your mind. Your past is no longer here. It does not have to have power over you anymore. Your future only creates anxiety when you're future tripping, when you're no longer in the present moment. The future doesn't exist right now. Nothing about the future matters right now. Right now is all we ever have. And the more present you can get to life, the more magical life will become, I promise you. So stop. When you leave here, stop and look around you and open your heart as wide as you possibly can and let it all in. One of the highest spiritual paths, I believe, is the path of spiritual non-resistance, where you are no longer resisting, you are no longer denying, you are just allowing all that is this life to just run through your body, just allowing everything that you haven't been feeling, allowing it to all come up. When you allow yourself to feel the things that you haven't been feeling, guess what? They go. They go. The only things that cause suffering are the things that you're resisting. The only reason why you suffer is when you are in resistance. So if you can open your heart and you can accept what is, and you can just let life be experienced through you, you no longer suffer. And I know these last couple of years, I believe, have for all of us have been pretty turbulent. It's like the ground shook underneath us, right? Has everyone felt that these last few years? There's been a lot of inner turmoil, and in the work that I do and working with my clients, there's been so much that's been stirred up inside of them. Things that they could no longer deny, things that they could no longer run from, they could no longer suppress, they could no longer pretend that things weren't working. And so I wrote a poem that I felt kind of captured the essence of these past few years. And I wanted to read it to you today for the first time. I've never read this out loud to a group before. And I'm pretty sure so there's some people in the room who can relate to the energy and the essence of this poem. So I hope that you enjoy it. And I'm going to drink some water before. Poem is entitled Broke Down. You broke down from emotions you could no longer deny. Me too. Like a wave rising, finding the courage to speak, an invitation to rise. This rising woke something inside of you, a memory you buried deep inside, never fully faced or expressed. A sleeping dragon so fierce, you have no idea the power it possesses. The carpet of normalcy pulled from underneath you, the ground shook as your life turned upside down. Sadness, pain, confusion, trauma. Pain you thought you had long forgotten, bubbling up like a river flowing to the sea. Destiny. No longer denying, no longer suppressing, no longer pretending that everything is okay when it's not. An illusion. You feel a fire rising inside and realize, like the phoenix that must be first burnt down, the old must be destroyed so you can rise. Rise from the ashes of your past, from the suppression of your voice. Rise from the darkness that has masked your light. It is time to break down so you can break through. Awaken and remember, you do not need fixing. There is nothing to heal. You have always been whole. You have merely forgotten. The pain of this world buried your truth, the truth of who you are. The essence of love that shines eternal like a fire blazing in your heart. That part in you is waking up, calling you to rise, to remember who you are, powerful, courageous, loving and kind, resourceful and wise. But sometimes you must first break down to break through, and remember, your truth has been there all along, so break down if you have to. Like the alchemist transforming metal into gold, first dissolving into nothing, your wounds will become your wisdom, your pain, your purpose, and your struggles, your strength. Rejoice, for a new day is coming. Rejoice, for as you surrender your burdens, they will be taken from you. Know this, you are not alone. There is an army of love rising. Souls awakening, remembering who they are, why they came, what this life is all about. It is a daily choice to walk this path. Devoted, determined, dedicated. This is the path of the heart warrior. A path which requires your courage, grit, and grace, love and kindness, your vulnerability and boundaries. This path is a way out of suffering and into peace. If it is calling you, you will know. It is time to rise. Thank you.